Early 80s, Ricky Graham earned the title, Mr. Springfield. Now this man, Scott Parker, is ready to take that title away. Graham hasn't won here since '86. Parker has won 5 in a row and 6 altogether on this racetrack. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Chris Carr is your pole sitter with the fastest heat victory. Graham starts second. Atherton, Parker will come from fourth. Durrell and Ferris round out row 1. And row 2, Boovie, Ingram, Hebb, Davis, Jones, and Keith Day will be lined up. And back in row 3, rounding out the starting lineup for this 25-miler, Larry Pegram, Billy Herndon, and Jay Springsteen starts out back. And the fans are on their feet looking for that green flag. The Springfield Mile is underway, and jetting to the front is number 58, Dave Durrell. He got the great start over Ronnie Jones down on the rail. Jones, too, got an excellent start as he came out of the second row. Scott Parker is third down the backstretch. Rodney Ferris is fourth. And we're underway in what I think, Bill, has to shape up as a dogfight.
I guarantee you this will be a war, Dave. I don't think anybody's going to get away. There's going to be too many guys up front, and they're all running so equal.
Give a listen to the sounds of battle. 17 men, 17 motorcycles shaking the ground at 130 miles an hour. Up to the top goes Kevin Atherton. Ricky Graham comes with him trying to ride his draft. Jones is on the bottom. He's got Jay Springsteen in tow. And as they hit the chute, those four will open up the wind and let Scott Parker and that pack behind come drafting right up into contention. It's such a traffic jam at this point, Bill. Are you tempted to just kind of lay back and let it sort itself out, or do you have to try to get to the front?
Well, the experienced pros let the race mellow out a little bit. I don't think anybody can get away, and right now I think everybody's measuring one another.
Well, if this is mellow, I'd like to see it when it gets exciting. Jones takes the lead back from Graham, who had it for a moment. You could go from first to fifth or sixth, and the time it takes to describe it here as they move down the backstretch. That's Atherton retaking the lead for a moment, but then handing it right back to Ronnie Jones. Graham will ride his draft, and you get glimpses of Springsteen, Parker, Ferris, the rest of the pack all stacked up behind. When they're running in that kind, we talked about the draft, when they're running that many bikes and that close together, does the air get badly disturbed, or does the draft stay clean?
You get 3 or 4 riders abreast, and it just punches a huge hole in the air. It's just huge. It's like a big vacuum sucking you forward. You have to be careful. It can get you in over your head.
Parker rode that vacuum on the bottom of the racetrack to the lead for about 10 feet, and then Ricky Graham steams by on the outside. If you lead this thing for 10 seconds in a row, Bill, you've done pretty well.
It's difficult. I mean, there's so many guys that can go so fast on this racetrack. It's one of the most competitive tracks on the circuit today.
Bill, I'm intrigued by the racing line. In automobile racing, so often a car that's working at the top of the racetrack won't work on the bottom, and conversely. I see these guys, Graham and Parker notably, making passes on the low side in one lap and come right back the next lap and pass on the outside.
That's a credit to track preparation. The guys who prepared this track did an excellent job. It makes it just that much better racing.
But the point is that the chassis will work either place. That's not as big a factor perhaps here as it is in car racing.
At this particular track, that's true. I mean, it's a great track to race on because you don't have a separate groove that you're stuck to.
Kevin Atherton out front with Ricky Graham stuck to his rear fender as they come off turn 4. Parker is third in line. Ronnie Jones runs fourth. Graham will ride the draft, and there goes Parker with the double draft. 2 bikes in front of him, opened that big hole. He just squirted through on the bottom and takes the lead from Ricky Graham. And how about it? I mean, we couldn't have written a script for this. We go into this thing with 2 guys that have won 6 races each. They end up side by side down the backstretch at 130 miles an hour. It's no surprise to see Parker up front, but for Graham, this represents a major comeback.
Graham's always had the talent, but the last couple of years, his program, he's really struggled with it. He hasn't been comfortable on a lot of the bikes, and he's come back, and he's on a good bike, and he's comfortable with it.
Well, Skip Eakin builds that number 3 machine that carried Bubba Schobert to 3 straight championships. It's a good horse. If Graham wins on it today, he's a shoe-in for American Motorcycle Institute Rider of the Race. We'll be right back. It's the middle of a spectacular championship main event, a 25-lapper currently led by number 3 Ricky Graham. 16 Ronnie Jones tucked in behind. Number 21 down by the rail is Will Davis. Give him a call. He has come up through the pack, a semifinal winner, to now run fourth behind Scott Parker down the backstretch. And Davis is really the man on the move here at the moment.
noticed earlier that Davis seems to be mimicking some of Scott's lines. If you're going to follow somebody, he wouldn't be a bad guy to follow.
When you say mimicking his lines, he's looking at where Parker's going and then following him through those holes?
Absolutely. Scott has an unusual line going into 1 and 2. He ran low most of the time, and most guys aren't following him in there. Will Davis is.
Davis followed him that time and got as high as second for the moment. Ronnie Jones comes back around the outside. And isn't it interesting that the semifinal winners, Ronnie Jones and Will Davis, are both up here in the top 5 after failing to get out of their heat race? It tells me that the difference between the first and 17th place guy here really isn't very much.
It's competitive racing. Yeah, you're right. There's only a couple ticks difference between the guy up front and the guy back in about 10th place.
And they've obviously made some adjustments on Jones' motorcycle because he challenges for the lead up the front straightaway. Parker, again, that low line, and Davis right on his tail. You called that one a lap ago, but Jones is hooked up well on the outside, and Graham likes following Jones. Looks like the Harleys are working on the bottom for the moment. The Hondas are working on the top, but it's still a crapshoot when they get to the end of the backstretch. Everybody likes Ronnie Jones, number 16. Probably one of the most popular guys out there. Red, white, and blue colors, very familiar at the front of these fields. He's sponsored by the Honda shop in Des Moines, Iowa, George Garvis Honda Town, and everybody likes to see Ronnie run well.
Ronnie's a real professional, and he's just a credit to the sport. Everybody likes him because he's just got a great personality.
It's the classic independent versus the factory team. That was the story throughout last year. Now Jones is slipping backwards. He's back to 4th, gets the good run off the corner. For the moment, Will Davis has the lead out front. Here comes Graham back after him, and Ronnie Jones kind of seesawing somewhere between 4th and 5th. But look at the dogfight behind him. Just a glimpse there of number 20, Chris Carr, and it's the first time the championship point leader has really asserted himself today. He seems to have been content to lay back up until now.
I think this is going to be a tactical race. Everybody's worried about tires, and I think it's time for Chris to make his move.
Tell me more about tires. Why is it a big concern today?
Earlier in the day, everybody was blistering their tires, and that's a real problem. If you blister one too early, you're going to move right to the back.
What makes them blister?
Well, as a tire engineer once told me, son, you've got it either too hard or too soft, so change the tire pressure. I said, thanks.
That's a big help. Yeah. Nice to have the engineers on your side. All right, let's see what's happening here. Tire pressure looks like it's just right on Jay Springsteen's number 9. He comes busting out of the pack, challenges Jones for the lead as they work down the front straightaway. Graham is 3rd. Hold on. Red flag. We've had a crash at turn 4. Kevin Atherton has crashed and is down on the racetrack. Fans on their feet. Brian Atherton, his big brother, has stopped to check on today's Camel Challenge winner. 1 minute you're the hero, the next minute you're down. But look here, Atherton is on his feet. He has walked away from a 130-mile-an-hour crash. His dad, Dave, there helping him up. Let's go back and see if we can figure out what happened here to Kevin Atherton, who gives him the thumbs up and says, I'm okay. Here from our speed shot camera, you'll be able to get just a glimpse of the motorcycle back there tumbling through the air, and Atherton tumbling right along with it. Obviously, a vicious end-over-end crash, but we can't tell much from that view as to how it started or what actually happened. For that, we're going to have to rely on what the riders have to say. Let's listen in down here and see what's going on with Kevin.
What's going on? You okay?
That's the way to symbolic, man.
Well,
you heard Atherton say, somebody took me out. He thinks there was contact there in turn 4. His concern, though, is his steel shoe on the bottom of that boot. It's obviously bent up. Indications are Dave Durrell might have made contact with Atherton. Let's go to Larry Myers.
Dave, you have any idea what happened out there?
well, all I know is I felt something poke my toe as we were coming off of turn 4 there, and I quick looked to see, and I didn't see anything. I knew someone had to go down with their handlebars down as low as my foot. I don't really know what happened, if I started drifting off or what. I don't know. I'll talk to Kevin later on and see what he says. A lot of guys out there. It's nuts.
Well, Durrell clearly feels that Atherton was on the outside of him, and in most circumstances, the guy on the inside would have the right-of-way. In any case, they're attempting to get Atherton's motorcycle repaired. He obviously wants to come back and race. Let's get his version of what happened.
Want to talk about it?
No, it's just good racing.
What happened?
You know, we're down there 3-4 riders abreast, and just happened to touch, and I got the bad end of the deal.
they're trying to get your bike ready. You want to go back out?
Hell yeah. I got a national to win.
Well, he won't say who hit who. Kevin is now a diplomat. More importantly, he wants back in the race.
I guarantee you right now, the guy with a knot in his stomach is Al Stangler, his mechanic. He doesn't have enough time to do all the things he wants to do, and he's a perfectionist. But I'm sure the bike's safe.
Well, we hope so, because he's going to get back and ride it, much to the delight of these thousands of fans. Kevin is their hero for the moment. The machine has fired, and look here, he got a little front end alignment job. Look at this, banging that front wheel into just the right alignment. I don't know whether I'm going to get back on that thing or not. Atherton is going to go back out and race for national points, and that's our cue to review those standings, because they are critical. It takes 20 points to win this race this afternoon. 9 points, the difference between first and second. Chris Carr has not made a lot of noise yet here today after winning his heat race. He has that narrow lead over Parker. Atherton is down there in 4th spot. There's the rest of the top 10, including Ricky Graham, currently 6th ranked. Didn't even ride Pomona, so for him to be in the top 10 at this juncture could be significant. We're ready for the single file restart. They line them up in the order they were running on the lap the crash occurred, and there's the green, and we're back to racing here at Springfield. Down into turn number 1, Ricky Graham retakes the lead with Ronnie Jones in tow. And now, for the first time we see Carr, he got a good restart. He is 3rd down the backstretch. Parker's back in 5th. Atherton has to start all the way at the back, and it's very unlikely that he will now be a factor. But again, more importantly, he's going to get some points.
Atherton has got a tough road to hoe. There's a lot of guys in front of him. He's probably not sure of the bike, and he's going to take it easy at first, and that may give the leaders a chance to get away from him.
And take a look at these leaders. Love that picture. At the end of the front straightaway, Carr gives up the lead to Ricky Graham, but for the first time today, Carr has become a factor, and this is a man determined to go out not only and win the race, but win the championship. He thinks he's lived in the shadow of Scott Parker long enough.
Absolutely. He wants his time in the sun. He's a hungry, hungry young man.
It was on this racetrack last September that the championship for 1990 turned. Carr came here leading by 10 points. Cracked an oil tank, was black flagged, left here trailing by 10. Parker took the point lead and never gave it up. Today, Chris Carr wants revenge. He wants the race, and he wants the championship, and he wants to be American Motorcycle Institute rider of the race. We'll be back to see if he can do it.
Telecast has been brought to you by Harley.
4 laps remain. Here comes Scott Parker to the outside around Ricky Graham as the clock winds down.
God, Parker got in hot in 1. He's out of 2. He just cut a heck of a turn. He's trying to gas it up right now.
This is the Parker breakaway we've seen so many times before. When it gets close to the finish, he can break that draft and get away. But now Graham is not going to let him go. Graham wants to hang on to that slipstream.
Graham knows that if he gets away this late in the race, he's going to be tough to run down. Graham's a smart veteran. He's going to take off after him.
We've seen it happen 2 or 3 times before. Parker will break the draft late. The guys will get racing for second behind him, and he just literally runs away. He's trying to do it today, but now Graham is challenged. In fact, he's going to slip all the way back to 4th as Jones and Carr come after him, but they bottle, and there goes Parker.
They're getting in each other's way, and that gives Parker another breath. He's able to get a little bit more distance between them.
As they go into turn 3, Ricky Graham tries the top of the racetrack. He knows he's got to get close enough to Parker to get that draft back.
He's responding to that charge. Ricky's an experienced veteran at Springfield. He's responding.
Across the start-finish line, 2 laps remain, but Chris Carr responds as well. He comes up the bottom. Jones comes with him. Davis is there in the thick of it. Graham hangs on. Graham stays in Parker's draft and begins to draw closer down the backstretch. I don't know. It's going to be a dogfight.
Ricky's got a shot at it. He did the right thing in the right time. He took off, and he's responding to Parker's punch.
I thought Parker was going to do that breakaway we've seen so many times before. Graham says, I'll have none of it. They come to the white flag. 1 mile to go. Parker with 6 wins here. Graham with 6 wins here. The rubber match at 130 miles an hour. They're going to decide it in a last lap shootout.
Watch turn 3 and 4. Both of these guys are Chargers. I'm sure both of them will want to lead through the last corner. But whoever's behind, the race isn't over yet. They got the draft to work with. It's going to be close.
Here they go into turn 3. Final time. Graham to the bottom. Graham wants the lead. Parker will try to hook right onto his rear wheel. Everybody on their feet. Can Parker make the draft pass? Here they come to the checkered flag. Oh, Parker slipped. Graham's going to beat him to the wire. Ricky Graham has won it. play the trump card on the front straightaway. It came up short.